Happy Thursday, everybody. We got a 2-for-1 subscriber feedback. First is an anonymous submission looking to get into video games and wondering how truthful their read is. And then the next is Dharma. Welcome back, Dharma. Dharma's curious if the audio in this file is sounding a little overcompressed or not, or what kind of tips we can offer there. We'll get to it in a moment. If you would like me to review audio of yours, there's a form in the description. There's coaching on my website. Both are down below. And both of our friends here are booth buddies, meaning they're channel members, so they get priority access to feedback like this. If that sounds interesting to you, you can check it out down below. Let's hop in. So for this first feedback with our anonymous submission, I turned the volume up a bit just for YouTube here. And for everybody else out there, they're aware that the audio quality isn't up to par for like professional submissions. We're just focusing on performance for now. Let's do it.
His eyes were wide and he looked exhausted. But his mouth was gaping open in an ecstatic smile as he cradled me in his muscular arms. Dad, I think I'm going to break it off with Brandon, I said. He looked up from the album, surprised. Yeah? I don't think I'm in love with him.
Okay, pausing real quick. Good start. So a couple things that we can focus on in terms of deepening the truth of your performance. Right now, it's resting sort of in a reading space rather than a living space, as in the telling of the story sounds at a distance, and the emotional depth of things is a little bit superficial in certain areas. And things that can help you in deepening that stuff is first look at the given circumstances of the scenario and take them on board a little bit more completely. So here in just this first 20 seconds or so, we know that we are being comforted by our Father. And we also know that our Father looks really, really tired for some reason. We don't know the context out of this sample. But in spite of that, he's putting on a happy face. Incidentally, the word is gaping smile rather than gapping smile, just to note. And so we know that Dad is here. Dad's comforting us. He looks tired and yet is putting on this big smile for us. So what does that mean, and what can that do to help deepen the truth, as you say, of our performance? Well, there are a couple of things that come to mind for me, and any of these could be the right answer. I don't have the full context, but these are things that come to mind that could be explorations in this way. One is if I'm here being comforted by my dad and I see that they're really tired and yet they're smiling, and I know that I've got this really heavy thing that I don't think I'm in love with this person anymore and I'm going to end it. There are a few different ways that this can go. Do I want to burden my dad with this right now? Am I so upset that I don't care about that really? And I'm just acknowledging that and appreciating that my dad is putting his best foot forward in spite of being tired and in spite of having to comfort me through this breakup and things like that. So taking that stuff on board may help to deepen that. Another thing right now is this is sort of to the reading versus living the story, where it's sounding a little on the superficial side and we can deepen it, is if you imagine being in your dad's arms and their arms wrapped around you and experiencing that as you're saying it. So right now, it's a really subtle difference, but right now it sounds just kind of like he had his arms wrapped around me. And I looked up and he looked exhausted, but he still had this big smile on his face. But if I have on board, I'm really sad. I think that this person's I want to break up with this person. I don't think that I love him anymore. I'm in this turmoil in that. And then my dad's here and I look up, see my dad. And he's still smiling, and in spite of looking so tired. And then I just say, Dad, I think I want to end things with Brandon. Not a great performance there, but trying to articulate that sort of difference because it's really, really subtle and you're very, very close to it in some respects. This section here sounds a little bit off to me.
Dad, I think I'm going to break it off with Brandon, I said.
Two things about it specifically. There's this sort of drift directly into the I said. This is a specifically audiobook thing, but if we start with Dad, I think I'm going to break it off with Brandon, I said, and it glides straight into that, then we aren't allowing for any separation between the lived world in this story and the audiobook world. It'll be a little bit different in video game narration and performance, but because each of those lines will be discrete. But to just finish my point here, by alighting from dialogue directly into I said, we don't have that separation. So you want it to have one thing that can help with that separation is there's the internal narrative space, which is sort of one stage. And then there's a literal stage, like if I'm standing on stage performing or presenting something, there's your internal narrative voice, which is I look up and there's my dad. And that stage is directly to the listener. That's me, the narrator, speaking directly to whoever is listening to this story at the moment. So it's kind of separate from the lived experience of the story. And then the second stage is the lived experience of the story. And in that scenario, our character here is literally being cradled by their dad. We enter into a space where there's a physical proximity. We're in a specific environment, and the scenario just changes. So to be a little bit more specific, one is I'm being cradled by my dad. I'm observing this in my mind's eye. I'm talking to you, the listener. And then we enter in space, and all of a sudden I have to speak across a distance to them. So to take it to a more extreme example, if internal narrative, I was late for work and I knew that I had to get to the train station right away. And I look ahead and I see that the train's doors are shutting. Hold the door. Then I shift to out in the lived space where I'm yelling across a distance, hold the door. Game of Thrones reference for you there. Anyway, I hope that's helpful for you in deepening the truth of things. And now let's hop over to Dharma. Thanks for sending that in, Anonymous. Again, Dharma is curious if this is sounding a little compressed or if it's all right. Let's take a listen.
Morgana? A voice cut through the fog of my spiraling thoughts. Do not start crying, I warned myself. If you do, you'll never stop. You'll only embarrass yourself. Everyone will stare at you and know what a loser you are. Just get your shit together, girl. Sure, my life was falling apart.
Yeah, sounded pretty good, Dharma. I don't think it's necessary. It's not grossly over compressed. It doesn't sound super duper crunchy. You could maybe dial it back a smidge, but the thing that's tough with audiobooks in general is the specifications are so tight in terms of how they need it to be under the loudness specs that everything ends up pretty darn compressed. The only thing that one thing that may help with that, rather than changing your compression settings, your noise floor sounds pretty darn low, which is great, but I suspect there's a bit of gating going on, as is evidenced by this breath back here.
Took a deep breath, and slowly.
So it's a good use of the breath there, but I hear your gate or noise reduction coming in and sort of chopping that breath so that it sounds a little fluttery. And that's just your gate turning on and off as you're breathing in a certain way, I suspect. And so if you turn off your noise gate in a way, or reduce the settings, it'll do two things. One, you won't end up with those pumping effects or the fluttering on your breaths, because that is a lovely use of the breath there, and it'll allow for that type of a thing. The ways that you can adjust that are lower the threshold of your gate. You can adjust the attack and release. I would refer back to my how to use gates and expanders video for more depth on that. You've got a pretty decent handle on it generally, but for anybody else. And by lowering that, it increases your noise floor. Your noise floor is pretty solid in general, but it will, in terms of audiobooks specifically, the compression effect and loudness crunching of things, it won't have to do as much work because the bass line isn't as quiet. Essentially what happens is, if it has to be a certain loudness for audiobooks, and goodness, this hat looks silly. If it has to be a certain loudness and you're making everything generally quieter, it's going to think that it needs to boost stuff more. Whereas if, to use an analogy that just came to mind, if you've got like a bowl of rice and you've got one really salty thing on top, what a silly metaphor. If you try to level everything out and you've got one thing that has nothing and one thing that has a lot, so your voiceover is really, really loud, but your noise floor is not loud at all, in order for everything to sort of normalize across everything or homogenize or reach a general deal, the loudness stuff is just going to work more, which can result in overcompression. That was a horrible explanation, but it's early in the morning here and I'm trying my best. Anyway, let me know if that makes sense. But all in all, I think you're in a good spot, Dharma. You could maybe turn it down a smidge or two and be just fine, or you can leave it where you're at and probably be just fine as well. For everybody else, I'll see you next week, and be well. Toodles.